Hey everyone, and welcome to a slightly more chill installment on the channel than usual. So, long story short, your boy was hard at work on the next episode of Deck Boss, and then I got buried under an avalanche of work. In addition to the gigs that I usually take during the course of my week, I decided to pick up a couple extra projects, make a little bit more scratch, pad the portfolio, that kind of stuff. But it's led to me having very little time, if any, to, record games for the show, let alone play at all. And, to be honest, the whole thing has left me feeling a little bit burnt out. So what I decided was I'm actually going to take a little bit of a break at the end of this week. So the Friday after this episode gets uploaded, I am actually going to be taking off for cottage country in a desperate attempt to cut as many wires as possible, get as far as humanly possible away from technology, and just, enjoy all the nice clear water and the smell of pine needles and swatting at mosquitoes and eating s'mores and stuff like that. Basically just get away from civilization for a little while, enjoy the weather, while the Canadian summer lasts, and spend some much needed time with the missus. But, I didn't want to leave you guys hanging. I didn't want to just disappear for a couple of weeks. So, I made sure to get a little bit of time here and there to play a couple of games, take a nice 20-30 minute break here and there. And thankfully, during my lunch today, I actually managed to record a fantastic game where I was taking a new expanded Mad Party list that I've been messing around with, the last couple weeks. I took it for a spin and actually ended up having a lot of fun. Now, don't get me wrong, this game was a bit of a nail biter. It was very close. I had a terrible start, but, I've been watching a lot of Mellow Magikarp videos, and dude's advice is solid. I was actually able to put a lot of the lessons, into effect here, like really thinking about my board state, not just playing solitaire with myself, trying to set myself up for success later down the road. And you know what? I think it actually led to some relatively solid gameplay on my side. And again, it just made for a really interesting, thought-provoking match. It was just some good Pokemon. It was a couple of one prize decks, just swinging at each other, making some really calculated moves, and yeah, I'm really happy for it. I haven't had a good game like this in a little while, which is really saying something. Part of, I think, what also got me burned out was the fact that normally in the course of recording episodes of Deck Boss, I know I'm fighting a little bit of an uphill battle, right? Taking theme decks from the Sun and Moon era, in one or two cases from the X and Y era, and trying to make them competitive in a world of tag teams and VMAXs. It's a tough prospect at the best of times, but recently, I think we can all agree that the game has gotten a little bit bonkers. Stuff like Ice Rider Calyrex, Shadow Rider Calyrex, new ADP variants, even Urshifu, who was kind of Rapid Strike, I should say, who is kind of hailed as the savior, of the format. Those decks just make it really hard to play anything that is not your own big 3 prize beat stick. Now, that's not to say there's no room for skill expression in the standard format as it is, but for someone like me who prefers to play kind of more rogue archetypes and generally speaking just stick with one prizers, it's really, really hard to do so. Kudos to the guy who managed to get so far in the recent Players' Cup with Spiritomb. That was masterful, honestly, to watch. But at the end of the day, it was still a really tough climb for him, and obviously Spiritomb didn't come away with it. Very close, arguably the best one prizer in the format, but still, it's a tough go. It is a very, very tough go, and I feel like more and more every day the gap is widening between these 3 prize monstrosities and the 1 prize decks that I and many other people, I think, seem to love. Even just the prospect of having a 1 prize backup attacker seems almost alien these days. It doesn't seem like too long ago when Tord Reklev was using that Suicune from Darkness Ablaze as a secondary attacker in his Inteleon deck. Like, fantastic stuff. Or was it, did he use it? I think he did use it, right? Alongside the Lapras V. Either way, it seems like it's been a long time since you've seen anything that's not worth at least 2 prizes. Attacking, generally speaking, it's just 3 now. And yeah, it's a really, really hard world out there for 1 prizers. Now, to a certain extent, it's less so actually in Expanded, because at least where I am on the Expanded ladder, which admittedly isn't that high, you still have a lot of people who are maybe a little new to the game, or people who are just experimenting and trying really far out stuff. So you still end up having more interesting games, I find. Like, you still run into really odd EX decks. There's some real champs, some real chads, still running around playing things like Night March, the Mega Mewtwo's, for example. I seem to run into them quite a bit. You know, you do run into fun stuff like that, and you also run into things like Toad. And as someone who didn't come up playing in that era, oh boy, fun to be on the receiving end of that. But still, you know, it's tough. It's really disheartening because Expanded, on the flip side, you know, while there is a bit more variety than the standard format by nature of what the beast is, it's also prone to a lot of abuse. So whenever I do manage to climb my way up in the rankings a little bit, then you run into people who use these 3 prize beat sticks and have access to stuff that was not designed to go alongside it, like Counter Energy, for example, one of my favorite cards, or even DCE, right? DCE on Ice Rider, Calyrex, or Counter Energy on Ice Rider Calyrex is absolutely disgusting. It is on any VMAX, right? It's 2 of any energy for a single attachment, and you just have to be behind a little bit. I mean, sure, why not, right? It's not the most difficult requirement to meet, especially when there are ways of going behind in prizes a little bit, not to mention like Electrode and all this other stuff. Things that are just not designed to go alongside these big monstrous cards. And not to mention, of course, the fact that we don't have a lot of effective countermeasures, at least for Pokemon V and V Maxes, right? You can't slap on a Choice Band or slam down a Shrine of Punishment and at least whittle them down a little bit and even the playing field that way. We just don't have access to stuff like that, at least yet. And I don't think the prospects are good for them being printed either, given the weird type specific, like glove, like anti-weakness or whatever tools that we got, like Gloves of Justice or whatever. That really makes me think at least we're not getting anything like Choice Band anytime soon. And I do get the feeling that something like a Shrine of Punishment is not getting printed again because it would require having to remember to place damage counters on all of your Pokemon V or whatever the case is every turn, which it seems like the designers of the game think is probably beyond their target player base, which is a shame because I think it would go a long way into at least making the format a little bit more bearable. But hey, at the end of the day, I think a little time away, honestly, from the game will do me good as well. I'm going to do everything in my power to avoid playing at least on PTCGO, because also the shuffling and all that makes me want to rage quit sometimes. I think if I can get up into the community and find a little card shop or a comic shop or whatever, I'll see if there's some people hanging around and maybe I'll see if I can get a couple of games in. But I think a little bit of a break on that front will be nice too. And, obviously by the time I come back, Evolving Skies will be out and I'll get to play around with all the fun new dragon specific tools that's coming with that. And who knows, there's some interesting 1 prizes in there. So we may yet save the game. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to make sure I got something out before, I took off to the middle of nowhere. So, hey, don't worry, I will be back soon. Got lots of interesting stuff in the pipeline. But hey, sit tight, and until next time, take it easy.